Can stockpiling groceries really become an investment in savings? I think so. Let's talk about this on the Stockpile Friday chat. Hang on. Sometimes when things look overwhelming, they feel overwhelming, and we sort of get paralysis analysis. We get stuck. It's like looking at a really cluttered room and just not knowing where to begin. Let's take saving money, for example. Part of us really want to save, but some of us just can't figure out how to get started. I say this. Now, some people may agree, some people may not agree, but I say it's as simple as starting in your kitchen, in your grocery, in your inventory, and in your stockpiling. Hi, I'm Jan. I love to help people keep some more of their own hard earned money. Could that be you? Never forget the three words: hard earned money. You worked hard for that money. Don't just squander it or throw it away and not get the value that you really can. All right, so let's get started with this. Let's talk about stockpiling for a minute. Sometimes saying the word stockpiling can sound a bit overwhelming. Stockpile, I have to stockpile my groceries. It almost sounds like a drudge or a laborious thing for those that are not familiar or even trying at all. Let's look at it this way. Why don't we think of it this way? Let's save a little extra. Let's not look at it as this big grandiose thing. Sometimes we look at the end results of other people's stockpiles, which are very impressive. And I totally take my hat off to you. But keep in mind one thing: your beginning is not their beginning. They may have started years back. Your beginning could be right now. So, how could your beginning look like somebody else's beginning when it was years back? We are all works in progress. But let's get back to simplifying the idea of stockpiling groceries. Now, some people like to do it all at once, buy a whole bunch of stuff, maybe periodically. And if that works for them, that's great. Anything that works for the person is great. But for the person that's just starting out, the person that's having a harder time making ends meet, starting small is always the best way to begin. But the thing is, get started. Again, like I always say, one has to want to start something. But I look at it like this: how many times was there a really bad, inclement weather day and you needed an important ingredient to get through a meal that you planned on making and you thought you had? And you're like, oh no, I really don't want to venture out in this weather. And probably 9 out of 10 times you probably shouldn't. So if the little voice tells you not to do it, don't do it. Just saying. Sometimes we need to just cope. And that's another skill I want to inject here. If you're in the middle of making a recipe, we can learn how to swap out ingredients, okay? We could become very creative. And sometimes we could even omit. I saw someone that was swapping out water for milk in recipes. Many times recipes called for milk, and I saw that person swapping it out using water, and it still turned out a-okay. Just saying, just saying. But let's get back to stockpiling for a minute. I was speaking to someone recently that is, quite concerned about when the weather gets bad because they have difficulties navigating the bad weather. They're a little bit older and they want to be precautious and they don't want to slip and fall. And that's a very valid reason. I get that. All the more important to be sure to stockpile. There are just little things that we could do. We could take it the little by little way. We could take it the larger way. But the best thing that we could do is get familiar. Get familiar with what your family really uses and use that to the best and get the maximum information. We have to do a little bit of research sometimes. I know it sounds like an extra chore, but for anything that we really want to happen, sometimes it takes that little bit of extra work. But aren't we fortunate these days that all we have to do with the click of a button is compare prices? We don't have to drive to that store to get that circular. We can just look up the name and just check it out. Just saying. So why don't we utilize the resources? The other thing to take into consideration is time of the year, okay? What may be workable in July as far as a sale goes may not be workable in December. However, in December, there are many, many things. I'm telling you, the holiday season is a great opportunity to stockpile on certain things. What would that be in your area? What would that mean for you in terms of what you like to get? These are things, again, that takes consideration. Does your family use a lot of box cake mix? If you do, I would say you're in for a really good surprise because usually during this time of the year, that's the time of the year that you'd be able to get box cake mix at a better price, even flour or any sort of ingredients like that. And another thing to learn how to do is to take the ingredients that you already have and utilize them to the max. But we also have to be mindful of if we're running low. It really doesn't take that much effort, especially if you do this once a week, once every 2 weeks at least. Get familiar with the inventory. If there are holes, as we call it, holes in your stockpile that need to be plugged up, go for it. And I never forget what that person or somewhere I read or somewhere on a video said when it comes to stockpiling, one is none and two is one. If you always go according to that, you're never, ever, ever going to run out. Well, okay, I shouldn't say never, ever, ever. That's a big, bold thing to say. Hardly ever going to run out. And the more ahead of the game that we stay when we stockpile by buying things at the best possible price. You see, that's what we have to do. When we get items that we always use, our family always needs, and we get a good price on it, heck yes, that's the time to strike while the iron is hot. And that is when you definitely stock up and save. And it's just such a good feeling to know that you have the things that you need. You don't have to worry so much about the inclement weather. You don't have to worry so much about, gee, I'm not feeling that great today. Or you even could be able to bless someone else who may be in need with some of your stockpile. I remember watching a show years ago, a video, trying to remember who the person that said this was, but someone said, if somebody is in need, go to the stuff that has been already opened. Like if you have a case of, let's say, evaporated milk, a bunch of cans of evaporated milk, you're not going to give away your whole brand new case to someone. I know this sounds really, really cheesy, but it actually does make sense. If the other case is open, that's the one you work with. So you work maximally with the things that you have. After all, not only are we trying to save money, but just trying to make our lives a lot more simpler. And in these complicated times, I'll take simplicity over complicated. Have a wonderful day.